Andy joins us this morning on the Harbor One hotline. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing well.
I was thinking, Greg, what time do you wake up to do this show?
Generally like 2:30 a.m. I get a good 3 hours of prep in at home, and then I try to get here by I don't know, what time do I normally arrive? 4:30, 4, something like that.
Get out of here! You don't get up at 2:30.
I get here at 5:50, and then 10 minutes with Courtney, and we're on the air. I try to sleep in as much as I can.
Really? And breakfast? Do you eat something?
No, I don't know. Sometimes I make myself a very healthy smoothie, but it really just depends on the day. Why do you ask?
I was just curious.
Oh.
I mean, I've had experience. Like I went to Colgate in upstate New York, and I had an early class. It was 8 o'clock. It wasn't get up at 6, but there were two students in the class, and we had the class in the professor's office. And I think both of us had gone out one night and showed up at the class in a little bit, in not a very good state. And he looked at us and he said, yes, he always used to ask questions, and he asked a bunch of questions we didn't have any answers for it. And then he said, I feel like I'm pulling teeth, and they're not wisdom teeth. It was a humbling moment.
I feel like maybe he'd used that one before. I feel like maybe. Well, Mike,
it was the first time for me, and I was offended.
Mike Milbury is on the Harbor One hotline today, so I'm going to get right into this. WEEI continues to loudly demand that the Bruins trade one of their wildly hot goaltenders, one of which has a modified no trade, which WEEI continues to ignore. So I know we asked you about this previously, but do you still stand with WEEI when it comes to the only option, which would be trading Jeremy Swayman?
It's not the only option, but it's worthy of consideration, but only if you're not going for a rental. Although I watched Patrick Kane play last night. He was brilliant. And the night before that, he had looked like he'd scored a goal at the buzzer in overtime, and they called it back. Last night, I think he had a goal and 2 assists. It looks like he was laughing, having a good time. Looks like a great time to make a play for a guy like that to add to your roster. If they could do that, I would have to consider Swayman because of Ullmark's poise, his incredible season. I mean, I never thought I'd be saying that, but if I'm going to give up Swayman, unless it's Patrick Kane, I guess I'd want something that's good for now and for the future. Not just a rental. I mean, Swayman becomes a very high price for a rental player, but if you have somebody that's whispering Patrick Kane and they say Swayman will get it done, I'd probably go home and toss and turn in bed till 2:30 like you, Greg.
Okay, can you get Patrick Kane done though with the salary cap restrictions?
I don't know that. I can't answer that question, but I think you can probably. I mean, listen, where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, they can make things happen and pay other prices to other teams to get rid of Craig Smith's salary, for example, or whoever in the roster is problematic that way. But yeah, that's right. They do have money issues. It's not just they're not just going to the candy store and picking out what they want when they dangle somebody like Swayman or a first round pick and a third round pick or whatever it might take. But I'm sort of conflicted here. Like I believe that they should explore a trade with Swayman involved because Ullmark's been so believably good for so long. And I do believe that when you get to the playoffs, you're going to need 2 goalies, but you're really going to rely on one. I mean, especially if you can get rid of opponents in a quick fashion. If you win the first round in 4 games and you get a week off, you don't need a second goalie going into the second round. That first goalie is going to be able to handle 7 games on his own. Not going to be a problem.
I just look at it differently. Like I think you're subtracting. If you're in a position that virtually no other NHL team has been, which is that you have 2 top 3 goaltenders currently on your team, both of which have seen considerable time this season, and you're getting rid of one, you're subtracting. And I don't know that the addition that you're going to be able to get because of what we're talking about.
What's the addition?
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be because of salary cap.
But I don't think you rush into a move with this young goaltender who everybody not only thinks is a great goaltender but also seems to be a great kid that has sort of woven himself into the fabric of the team and seems to be, a guy that everybody would like to play with. I mean, it's a big move. And do they need to make a move? I think they need to get some depth on defense, and I think they could use another winger that's better than Craig Smith on the third line. Does it have to be Patrick Kane? No, it could be the kid from St. Louis. It could be Barbashev, and you could say to yourself, only one team's going to win this, and everybody's out there, banging on doors and making trades, and only one team is going to be able to pull it off. And are we going to make a difference when we make this deal? And are we hurting ourselves for the future, or are we poking ourselves in the eye with a hole in the lineup when we give somebody that's being productive now, and everybody's productive on this team right now, we give him away? So it's an interesting time, but it's also a salivating time for Don Sweeney, because if he can patch some minor holes in the lineup, he can guarantee himself a very deep run and maybe a cup.
Mike, you bring up Craig Smith twice now. There's so many rumors about him, and the number one rumor is that the Bruins called Carolina to trade him there. Why would you give the team that's probably going to be your biggest competitor for a top seed in the conference any help?
Well, because they know that he's not any good. I'm sorry. I mean,
not bad.
That's unfair.
That's
unfair to say. He's not. He's had some productive times, but he's hit somewhat of a wall, and I think they've been trying to get rid of him for some time because of the money reasons. And if they write the lineup sheet in Seattle tomorrow and Craig Smith's name is not on it, and you fill in with Trent Frederick, is anybody going to be worried? No.
I just think we've seen him perform pretty well in the past, and if it's a different type of scenery type place, you give him to Carolina and you see him perform well. That's not good for us.
Well, no, it's not if he performs well, and if the price is right, and they can use that money to get a player of, let's just say, for example, Patrick Kane or even Barbashev, who's, having an off year in terms of production, but could be a younger, more energetic player. I think you have to consider it. I don't think Craig Smith is one of the players in the lineup that has done well in the past, but I'm not going to miss him when he's gone. By the way, did I tell you that I saw a coyote yesterday?
No.
You guys were talking about bobcats earlier. Yeah, I was just taking a walk to the mailbox, and this coyote came running across the street, and it's a majestic kind of animal. Huh. Bigger than a big dog. But I found myself a little bit afraid.
That's if I remember correctly, that's twice for you this year. You had an odd run-in with a cougar in Florida. Wasn't she strangely in your room or something?
Yeah, she was. She was.
That's because he was in a swingers community. I had no idea he was there. Mike, the other thing I look at when it's interesting, because if I'm Sweeney, I too am probably salivating over the Patrick Kane thing, because imagine you have Patrick Kane opposite Krejci and Pasta on the second line. And the other thing is that you potentially take him away from a team that Courtney brought up, the Carolina Hurricanes, but, whether it's the Rangers or another team that could be in on a guy like that.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, the Rangers have gone out and grabbed Tarasenko. The Islanders grabbed Bo Horvat. Who else am I missing in that lineup? Oh, Ryan O'Reilly goes to Toronto. What did he have, a hat trick and an assist in a game against Buffalo just a couple nights ago? I mean, other teams in this conference are understanding that, A, they want to make a run at it, and 2, that they're up against a little bit of a beast in the East in Boston, so they're trying to bulk up. And that may motivate, Don Sweeney to get on the phone more often, although I have heard nothing but, there's conversations about every available player And I think he's been in on all of them, and so I commend him for that. But let's see the proof in the pudding. And if he didn't do anything, if he did nothing at all, you could hardly blame him, right? With a historic run, and there are a number of defensemen, for example, Zboril and Riley and Strawman, wherever the hell he is. I mean, he's making $1 million a year for like having coffee, and it's great. I get that deal here at WEEI?
No, that's Greg's deal.
And Wiggy calls me an idiot when I say it, but then we have guys like AJ Greer in here Friday talking about the chemistry on this team is better than any team he's ever played on, different than any other team that he's ever played on, all the way back to youth hockey. I worry about if something isn't broken, you don't need to fix it, and I worry about the change when it comes to the locker room. That being said, maybe it doesn't matter if the chemistry is that great and it's the leadership group that's responsible for it. Maybe it doesn't matter who you bring in. Maybe getting rid of somebody like Jeremy Swayman, who's, I think, as popular as anybody over there, maybe it doesn't matter, but I worry about that.
I remember early in my career, we went to the Stanley Cup Finals in my first year. We lost to the Canadiens. We went to the Stanley Cup Finals in my second year. We lost to the Canadiens, and we went to the Stanley Cup semifinals in my third year and lost to too many men on the ice. Chemistry was great. We could have used another goddamn scorer.
Facts. Preach, Mike.
Mike, so there was a report the other day that the Bruins basically have a deal that's in place and could be done if Sweeney pulls the trigger on freeing up the cap space with Craig Smith for Vladislav Gavrikov. How would he fit into this lineup? Like, would Grzelcyk then be the odd man out? Would it be Clifton? Would it be like a rotation of the three? If they were to go through with a trade like that, how would that kind of play out on the defense?
It's a good question, and I've thought about this. Is he the kind of player that Jim Montgomery wants? I mean, we've talked about this all year, that they want people to jump up into the play, and this guy's not going to do that. He's a big, wide body, not particularly nasty, but fills a lot. I think he's got more minutes than anybody on the roster in Columbus. So obviously they can, until they sat him up because they want to trade him. I don't know why. I know he's unrestricted at the end of the year, but it's good depth, but it's a curious match for the Bruins, who have looked at all different types of players that can join the rush and be part of the offense. This guy is not one of them. So I think I'd like the guy in my roster. Where does he fit? I'm not sure.
You brought up Montgomery. You think he has a shot at Coach of the Year?
I think it's a lock at this point. I think it's just a complete lock. I mean, I think he's Coach of the Year. I think that Ullmark is the Vezina Trophy winner. I think you should get Norris Trophy votes in the top three for Lindholm. And Pastrnak, Don Sweeney could win a GM of the Year again. He's already won it once, and I think Pastrnak could be in the top three for MVP, but I don't think anybody's going to knock McDavid off that perch.
All right, Mike Milbury, as always, it is a pleasure, and we will talk to you again next week. And we will let's see, is next Thursday the 3rd of March? Will that will be a deadline day. So we'll discuss that with you and other things coming up next Thursday on the Harbor One Hotline. Thank you, Mike Milbury.
All right, you're close on the date, but not exactly on
So
Friday.
Friday the 3rd.
Friday the 3rd.
Friday the 3rd. Okay.
Oh,
all right, good.
God.